Megan, thank you very much. For more on the Middle East tensions rising, let's bring in Michael O'Hanlon, Director of Foreign Policy Research at the Brookings Institution. All right, we have the markets right now sort of shrugging off the threat that is emerging in the Middle East. What would you say at this hour is the biggest concern, Michael?
Greetings. Well, on the up-down of whether to feel relatively hopeful, I would agree with the markets. But on the spiking the football in the end zone, up 300 points, I would not agree with the markets. These sorts of things, as we learn from history, are not so easily controlled. And there are still multiple additional question marks about Iran's next moves, including whether it enters into negotiations on its nuclear program, and I'm doubtful about that, whether it still has a lot of centrifuges left that survived our attacks, and I think there's a decent chance that they did. And then, of course, as Vice President Vance mentioned the other day, we have no reason to think that we destroyed any of the highly enriched uranium stock. So the whole future of Iran's nuclear program is still something that should worry markets maybe a little bit more than today's celebration would imply.
When you're looking at the developments that we're seeing where you've got airspace being shut down in several other Middle Eastern countries, you have missiles being launched toward American air bases, and this sense, and I brought this up in the last segment with Halima Croft, that these Middle Eastern countries have really put a lot of investment into trying to alter their reliance on oil as the basis of their economies and try to encourage tourism. When you shut down airspace and tourists cannot get in and out, that tends to dampen enthusiasm for those places as a destination. How much influence do they have with Iran?
Well, it's a good question. As you know, they've been trying to improve relations overall, compared to at least what they had been. But in some ways, what Iran's doing with this attack, I think, is just doing something. It has to retaliate in some way, as you were just saying. But also, it's telling us and the Gulf states, the would-be tourist destinations of the future, what Iran could do more of if it so chose. And so, you know, if American and Israeli attacks continue, or if the demands on Iran at negotiations are too extreme, or what have you, Iran has reminded us, as if we needed the reminder, that these kinds of attacks could be carried out at a low level over a period of many days or weeks or months, like the Houthi rebels in the Red Sea.
Right.
And I don't know what the state of geography is, the United States, what they teach now in high school, but having been to the region many times, Michael, I think most people would be shocked at how narrow it is, how tight it is, right? You've got Kuwait, you've got Bahrain, the UAE, Qatar, Oman. You could literally drive between Kuwait and Oman in one day. They're that close, and Iran is kind of sitting off to the side. My point is not a geography lesson. It's simply to say these are all, I think, to Contessa's points, easy targets. They're very close.
And even if they're not intentional targets, it's easy to get mistargeted. It's easy for a missile to be misfired. Even with modern technology.
I've swam, whatever, in the Persian Gulf. If you're in Dubai on a clear day, you can see Iran. I mean, it's that, the Strait of Hormuz, I think, is 20 miles wide, but there's islands and stuff in there. But it's really just like a 3-mile long wide shipping channel. This is all, we're going to need the Gulf region, probably led by the Saudis, because they're the de facto, certainly, powerhouse and politically and economic powerhouse in the region, to take charge, are they not, and basically bring everybody into a room and say, knock it off.
Yeah. Also, there are some military implications to what you just said with your very good geography lesson. And one of them explains why we don't like to send aircraft carriers into the Persian Gulf, because they're too close to potential threats that we may not have time to respond to or shoot down. Another concern would be that if Iran decides to mess with the Strait of Hormuz and boat traffic through there, even with intermittent attacks, we can't really stop that, short of going into Iran with ground forces. I'm not predicting any such scenario, but, you know, we've all seen enough wars happen in our lifetimes to know that things can start small and grow. And that kind of a scenario is one of the reasons why I would not be, getting giddy about today's developments.